Buenos días, mi gente, and welcome back to another episode of Vino y la Verdad, hosted by the ladies of Wine and Wisdom 5. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hey.
Hi.
How's everyone?
Good.
You ready for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not ready to cook. I'm not ready for anything. I'm ready to drink my wine.
No, I can't believe it's already here.
I know. It's right around.
I feel like November just went right by us.
It really
totally.
It really did.
It totally has flown by. So today's episode is basically about setting your goals and what you're doing to get there. And once you get there, do you continue setting more goals, or you basically celebrate your successes at that time of what you've reached? So what do you guys think about that?
Well, I definitely think you should celebrate as you reach your goals, but never stop creating goals for yourself, right? Because that promotes growth,
Yes.
within itself. So, I mean, I think that's just my opinion,
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
100%.
For me, like, let's say you set a goal, you accomplish it or you don't, but there's always another area in your life where you want to grow. So let's say for me, fitness, hitting my goal, but like spiritually, that's a different type of goal. And that I also want to attain, and I haven't gotten there yet. Or another goal, like my cooking, like I struggle with that. So that's just, so in every aspect of life, I feel like to get fulfilled or to get better, you kind of set a little goal as you reach, just like you said, celebrate but keep moving, keep pushing forward, because you can always just be better.
Absolutely. And like Jesse said, it's about growth. And I feel if you don't set for yourself goals or something you want to aspire to or reach, like, what are you doing? That's what life is about. It's about growing. It's about wanting more. And it's not about being greedy, but it's about setting goals. Like you said, whether it's improvement at home, whether it's, that you want to learn something new, whether it is you want to try something new, whether it is you want to, I don't know, buy a house, whether it is you want to, travel more. Those are all goals that you can set, like you said, different parts of your life. And as you reach them, absolutely celebrate them. Why not? That's something you accomplished. That's something you did that you wanted to achieve or do. So absolutely, you should celebrate.
I totally agree. How do you prep yourself to reaching those goals? Like, you manifest these goals. Do you guys like write yourself a letter and say, this is where I want to be and, by 2023, or, do you take action up to those goals a little bit every day? Do you tell other people? I don't tell other people, like, just not anybody. I feel like when you put it out there, it kind of puts a dimmer on it. So I think me personally, I think it's best if you just keep your goals or something you're trying to achieve to yourself, focus on it until you get there.
Well, I think you got to put it out to the universe first, because whatever you put out into the universe and you really believe, like, this is what I want, you're going to reach. I'm like, that's my biggest thing. I voice it. I don't tell people, but I voice it out to the universe. Like, I'm going to reach this. I'm going to get this. This is what I want. I truly believe that works when you really, truly desire something from your heart and you put it out, it comes. It might not come right away, today or tomorrow. It might be next month. It might be next year. It might be, 2 years from now. But you will come to see it if you truly, really desire this and you put it out to the universe. The other thing I do always my whole life is I do write goals now. I've done many vision boards in the past. All that works. But again, is about your mind, right? What you put in your mind, what you put to work, whether you work a little bit every day, whether you work a little bit every month, whether you work at it every year, if it's a 2-year span you gave yourself, whether it's a 5-month, goal you gave yourself, losing weight, right? Like, okay, I want to reach this weight by such date. That's, I think, how people actually accomplish goals, is by giving themselves a timeline. Like, by this day or by this month or by this year, this is what I want, because now you have a date on paper. So now it's like, you're not going to let yourself down. You know what I'm saying? So now you're going to work for it. At least that's how I see it. That's what works for me and how I've accomplished a lot of my goals.
I think it's important to also, as you're setting those long-term goals, to set the short-term goals in between to get to that goal.
Right.
Because many people let go of their goals because they're not reaching that over here.
Right.
But if you're
Right.
reaching in steps, you know,
yes,
you get
you're working
closer
towards
to
it.
and it feels better. You know, it feels like
Yes.
you're actually accomplishing something.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. I
think
like
that's-
that, Jess. Salud.
Cheers to that. People get discouraged, you're right.
Absolutely.
I also feel like when you say, you don't share your goal or you don't say it, you have to say it to the right people.
Right.
Because
No, I do, but not to everybody. Like,
No,
I'll
right.
tell you, lady,
Right.
you know, but
because
Mhm.
like, or find people who are on that path
Yes.
or
Right.
similar, because you'll push each other.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, sometimes my husband and I were not on the same page. Like, let's say, oh, I'm like itching to grow and to do more, and he's just like, I just want to chill. Like, he's not there, because when we get on the same playing field, that's when we do things. Like, we'll do and we'll accomplish more. But when one of us is like not feeling it, like, even when he's like this, and I'm just like, yeah, no, like, that's not where my headspace is, things kind of go sour. But when we kind of focus together, we'll push forward and we'll make a plan. Like, we have to make a plan and stick to it, and also have an accountability partner, like
Mhm.
someone to hold you accountable
Right.
for
Yes.
what you say you want to do, because that also will keep you going, you know? So when I used to work out in the morning, like, people used to come on from, and I would help and lead, but they were keeping me accountable. What they didn't know is that they were making me get up also.
Right.
I was
Right.
showing up for not only me, but for them. So, and right now it's just me. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm tired. It's harder. It's harder.
Right. Yeah, no, it's easier when you have someone, like you said. It's so much easier.
There.
Because
Yeah.
you're pushing each other, you're helping each other, and you don't even know it, right?
Yeah.
You're showing up for them and they're showing up for you. And it's like,
Yeah.
And
You know what
one
they're
other
doing?
thing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Gloria.
No, so in my school, there's this program called The Leader in Me. So I don't know if you've ever heard Stephen Covey. He said
Mhm.
he wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's his book. So, and I recommend everyone read it because it's really good. But he wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Kids. And now they turned it into a program in school. So to build leadership, and
nice.
it's just the steps that they do. Like, the first 3 steps are be a leader of yourself before you can lead others. So it's like, be proactive, accountability, like all these things. I'm like, wow, they're teaching them now from younger.
Young.
That's great.
So they can have those skills and thought processes as they get older, because I learned it later, but if they learn it now and they have accountability partners, they set goals short term, it's like, it's crazy, it's really great. But it is the things that we do, or that we should do to attain a goal, and bringing it down to like little kids. It's amazing.
That is amazing.
Awesome.
That is amazing. And I think we also have to plan for setbacks. I think setbacks is what pushes you further to reaching those goals and your successes. There's going to be failures along the way. So if you plan for that setback, you're like, okay, if this is not going to work out, then, then if this doesn't work out, then I can plan out to implement this and then see how that works. Some people, like Jessica said, do get discouraged when there's failures along the way, and they're like, oh, but it didn't work out. But that's part of the process to me.
Absolutely.
I think if you can't plan, then you have to kind of be able to think, okay,
right.
Reflect for a minute. Maybe
it didn't work. I'll try something else. Or I'll do something else.
Just having that attitude, like,
Right.
okay, this didn't work. Let me
Successful people still get successful by not failing.
Yeah.
That's how they become successful.
Yeah.
It's funny. That's why I feel the short-term goals to lead you to that. So let's say you reach the first 3, and then, damn, you're having a setback on the number 4.
Right.
It makes you think about, oh, but wait, I did the other 3. I've gone this far. I got to
Let me
I can keep going. I'll figure it
Hey.
out. I'll find a
Yeah.
way. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with that 100%. And I think I told Gloria a couple of weeks ago, I heard a quote from someone that's been resonated with me, and it's been stayed with me in my mind. It says, your mind is stronger than your feelings. Your feelings is what keeps you in bed. Your mind is what convinces you to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I was laying in bed, and I was just like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything today. And I'm like, whatever, scrolling. And that stupid thing came up, and I was like, holy shit. I got up, I did my bed, shower, I got dressed. I was like, that's right. My mind is stronger than my feelings.
But remember that quote that I said, be stronger than your excuses.
Right.
We're gonna bring them up. Those excuses come and you have to say no.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think that's all those motivational affirmations work so well when you're trying to reach certain goals.
You have to talk to yourself. You have to talk yourself out of it.
Mhm.
And I try to tell my daughter that. My daughter, when she gets like, oh my God, she's only get throwing a tantrum. Let's be stronger than this. Like, and it's corny, and she wants to like slap me. Like, and I'm like, be stronger than this tantrum. You're 12.
Get over it, girl.
Come on, push through.
True. It's true. But we have someone on the show today that is basically like a combination, right, of everything we've been talking about. You know, being stronger mentally, motivating others, being a leader, author, entrepreneur. Kenia Nunez is going to be in our Pero Porque Why segment. I know we're all excited about that.
Yes.
So stay tuned for our Pero Porque Why segment with Kenia Nunez. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. So welcome back to our Pero Porque Why segment. And today we have the amazing Kenia Nunez. She is an author. She's a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, so many things this woman represents. And we are so excited to have her. So today we're going to be talking about reaching your goals. Okay, turning your dreams into reality. So let's hear from Kenia and the rest of the girls about that topic.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome. Hey.
Hi.
So excited to be here.
Yes, we're
So
excited
good to have you.
So
How are
excited.
you?
I'm waiting.
Great. Thank you.
So tell us, this is our Pero Porque Why segment where we always ask like, Pero Porque Why? So why did you decide to, transition from, a health and fitness coach into this amazing businesswoman, into an author, and now into a podcaster? I mean, you've just gone through so many chapters and so many levels, in different type of ways. What has been your, your journey like? Like, tell us everything.
Yeah, so it's definitely hasn't been linear. I was actually a secretary for 20 years. So that's what I did. And I always like to share that story because it's kind of funny, where my mom worked in a sweatshop, came from DR, single mom, had me at 17. And her dream was for me to work in an office. She was just like, I just want you to work with an office. And I remember her saying it like yesterday, yo quiero que hagas copias. That was her goal for me in life. That was it. Just be in an office and make copies. And, I always joke with my sister. I was like, yeah, I became the ultimate paper pusher, and I was an executive assistant for 20 years, but I was really good at it. I was actually making over 6 figures as an executive assistant. And then that shifted when my husband at the time got sick with cancer. And then I started learning I immersed myself in wellness and, just trying to save his life. So it was just a matter of just doing it for self-preservation. And I kind of fell into that. And then after he passed away, sadly, he did pass away in 2013. And I quit my job And before I quit my job, I actually went to my boss and I told her that I wanted to quit. And she thought I was insane. She obviously knew I made really good money, great bonuses at a financial company. And she was like, you should go see a psychiatrist or something, and she didn't mean it in a, condescending or facetious way. She really wanted me to make sure I was okay. So I went, and believe it or not, at that psychiatrist's office was the moment I realized that I needed to quit, because I sat there and she basically asked me, how are you? I said, I'm sad, right? My husband passed away. And immediately she wrote me a prescription. And she didn't ask me much of anything. And I left her office going, holy cow, this is a problem. So I went back a month later and I filled the prescription. I didn't take it, obviously, but I went back a month later. And I basically just told her that I was still sad because she asked me. So she upped the dosage. Wow. And and that was the moment I realized, I was like, this is crazy. And I basically quit to teach what I learned in crisis. So I went from secretary to teaching others. Long story short, a principal saw me talking about wellness and speaking, and I just threw myself into the fire. And I wrote my first book in 2013, first 5 months of widowhood, put it out there, and I kind of built a small but mighty following. And it was just me healing myself, but people connected to it, which was great. And then just started teaching others. And when this principal saw my work, he said, come teach at my high school. And I was like, I've never taught before. I don't want to do this. But I knew I needed money. I really hadn't figured out the entrepreneurship thing at that point. So I went, I taught, I was horrible at it, but thankfully, it was really bad. But it took me, but I had heart and I had passion and I really wanted to make a difference. So he took me under his wing and he really taught me how to be a teacher. So what I learned was that in order to teach them, I had to reach them first. I had to build trust with the students. And I should mention, it was a school where all the students had been suspended for litigation cases. They all had cases, criminals, mostly criminal cases. And not that they were guilty, but they all had some litigation cases pending. So I was teaching pretty much men and young boys and women at this school. And it was the most fulfilling work I've done. And then that was that. And then just to fast forward, I took my work and entered a competition at Hofstra University. And I was in this competition and I was gunning to win it. I think the overall prize was like $75,000. And I was in it. I was like, I got this. This is going to help me build my business. And in the midst of the competition, a position became available for assistant dean of entrepreneurship. Wow. And I went for it. I had crushed. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Cheers to that. That was
hot water. Is that okay? And thank you. And I'll just say that all the limiting beliefs I had, I stayed a secretary for so long because I never thought I could achieve more than that in my life. And I just, that's where I was. I didn't dream any higher. That was it for me. And at this point in my life, I feel like after loss and after so much heartache and heartbreak, like you lose a little bit of fear. You're like, what the hell do I have to lose? And I went for the position. I don't even think I checked all the boxes in terms of what the qualifications are, where I was like, I am equipped for this position. And I got it. And that's where I am today. So I'm on the other side where I help entrepreneurs with their startup and scaling their business. So that's my long-winded story of how I got to where I am.
Wow.
You are amazing, my friends. Amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
May God continue to bless you and keep guiding you, and so you can continue to help so many people as you have always done, From day one that we met, it's like you've always been a motivation and someone that everyone can connect with and look up to. And you're just amazing. You're amazing.
I appreciate that. And I love what you ladies are doing. I think this is phenomenal. And this is what it's about, storytelling and sharing and helping each other out. So I applaud you all. So thank you so much. I feel honored to be here. Really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
coming from the educator, right? Because I'm a teacher, I teach
Mhm.
third grade, but you also have a special needs son that you have fought for, and you've taught me so much about that journey myself. And I also teach special ed kids because I'm in ICT.
Mm.
But something that I've wanted to ask you actually for a while is how you do all of these for others, but how do you manage that for your children? Because I feel like sometimes I'm a better teacher, like my kids, and then when I get home, I feel like my kids don't get the best of me. And I've been working on shifting that. But if you have any strategies for that, I would really appreciate it. You'd
Yeah,
listen.
well, thank you. Well, in hindsight, going back to when he was younger, so Markin is now 21.
Yeah.
And he has Asperger's. And so it's interesting that in those early years, I feel that I didn't have a good grasp on how to balance work and life and raising children. And it's interesting because a lot of my healing and my learning about my life is looking back and being able to do better. So I feel that I missed my entire marriage with Marlon because I was so focused on my son. And I don't have regrets about that because you do the best with what you have and with your abilities. And it was interesting that Marlon, my first husband, had Asperger's too.
Wow.
And I didn't realize it until he was in his 30s. I had him diagnosed because I was like, you got a problem. I'm not the problem. I'm not the problem. But it's interesting, I was the problem. You know, he was actually very clear cut, but now I understood why he wasn't a great communicator. He wasn't being a jerk. He just didn't have the ability to communicate the way I needed someone to communicate with me. And so to answer your question, back then I didn't. I actually lost myself. I was in a very dark place for most of my marriage. I had suicidal ideations, and this is before his cancer. And I believe that in my first book, in my
Your
memoir,
first book. I was going to say it's all there in the first
it's
book.
all there in the first book.
Which is a great book, by the way,
Thank
ladies. You got to get it.
Oh, thank you so much. And I can't even read it now because it's like I cringe at certain things and I'm not the same person, but I'm so grateful that I wrote it. But in the first sentence, I think it summarizes where I am now. And it was in his death, he gave me life. And I really learned how to approach things differently from that point. And I recognized that I could only control what I can, and I do my best, and to have compassion for myself, because it's very hard raising any kid, right? And to raise someone with special needs. So what I really learned to do, believe it or not, to answer your question, is what I learned in crisis was how to take care of myself. In trying to save Marlon's life, I literally saved my own. And I started adopting those things even after he passed away. And that's how I created a meaningful balance. There's no balance, right? But there's a meaningful balance for me. There's a meaningful balance for you. Everybody has their own measure of what you know your spirit feels like when things are in sync. So I do the best that I can. I advocate for him to the best of my ability, but I have also learned to step back and allow him to fail and stumble so he can also build resilience. And I step in when necessary, because even now that he's 21, I still have to advocate for him. So I think first and foremost, I have to take really good care of myself in order to be able to be the best that I can for him, and not just my 2 other biological children, but I also now have 2 stepchildren. So I have 5 kids. So yeah.
And
Wow.
I think, unfortunately, after Marlon's passing, that helped you bring out the warrior that you are. You know what I mean? Like you said, it helped you grow and find yourself, not only for yourself, but to deal with 3 kids on your own. Like that alone is amazing. And having one with special needs, you know? So that right there alone is like, you know, like I always said to you, you're just an amazing human.
I appreciate that. And you know what's interesting, that we don't see those qualities in ourselves, because I have the privilege of knowing you personally, Gloria, and you know, I've shared that with you, that I think what I've learned from you and watching, you know, your dynamic and you're not to get into all that, but I see that in you, right? And until somebody reminds you,
Right.
you're doing okay.
You're doing a fucking great job.
Yeah.
I think you kind of, don't have that gauge for yourself because you're just doing the best. I'm just trying to survive. And in the process, what's interesting is that a lot of people thought I was an attention seeker. And I speak to my husband, I'm remarried now, but I talk to my husband about that all the time, that I'm really an introvert. And for so many years, people took it as, oh, look, she's such an attention seeker. She's always posting on social. She's always, needing this, or she's celebrating her husband's death in some weird way, or sensationalizing it. I've gotten so many awful things. And in truth, like now, it doesn't matter, but at the moment it really hurt. And now that I can look back, I can really give it a name. I was just healing, and I did it publicly because I did need that comfort. I did need, in a weird way, I needed that attention from a virtual platform that made me feel like I was okay and that I was going to be okay. I needed that validation. So it wasn't for the reasons that people thought I was sharing, but yeah.
It sounds like you had a journey to find your sense of purpose, right? Because, trying to take care of your husband, not doing the self-care, you kind of lost yourself. Yeah. Where in your journey did you really realize, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't take care of myself my whole marriage. I was a martyr. Like, I thrived off of chaos and being miserable, and I didn't even know it. Like, I remember him walking through the door, and it was like Complaint Central, where there was nothing about me that was joyful. And I was a good person, but your trauma from childhood just doesn't go away. If you don't address it, if you don't face it, if you don't heal it, what you resist will persist, right? And that trauma that I had as a child, I carried it over into my marriage, and I was an angry wife. So my entire 13 years of marriage, I was not present. I was not healthy mentally, physically, spiritually, in any way. So actually, in trying to save his life is when the shift happens, where I remember just actually lying in my bed, and he was already diagnosed, and watching an insanity infomercial with Sean T, and going, I got to order this. And it was the DVDs at that point, right? That's how far back we go. Yeah. And I was like, this is either going to, Gloria, it's either going to kill me. It's either going to kill me or it's going to help me. It was one or the other. And at that moment, I realized that he may die. His cancer was very fast moving. So I was like, I have to do something to be okay. I didn't know where to start. And it started with that infomercial. I ordered the DVDs. I started working out. And I remember the next month, I started feeling good about myself. I was like, okay, now we need a church. And then I started looking for a church. And actually at that church is where I found my husband now. And
God had him waiting for you.
He had him waiting for me. And it's a great story because actually Marlon, my first husband, and James, my second husband, were friends. They were in a Bible study together.
Wow.
And he loved
That's
James.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so for me, it started there. So it was fitness, then my spirituality, and then my nutrition. And then really just immersing myself, realizing, whoa, I don't sleep enough. And all those things, it wasn't for me. It was me trying to save Marlon's life. I'm like, we need more of this. I started becoming a researcher. We went to the oncologist, and he had no information other than, okay, here's your chemo. Have a nice day. And I'm like, but doc, he's eating Chinese food. He's having, these sweetened drinks. He's like, stop stressing over it. He's young. He's going to survive. Stop going crazy. They don't
tell you anything about nutrition when you have cancer. It's
like, no,
nothing.
And now I think they do more. I think there's more of a responsibility,
right,
and an ownership on how important, but we're going back to 2012,
right,
where I literally posted on Facebook. I said, is anybody vegan? I need help. Because Marlon started a plant-based diet. He actually went to Florida to try to save his life at this place called Hippocrates Health Institute, which was amazing. Everything I know about wellness, I attribute to them, and to a chiropractor also that I can't forget about. But he came back and he taught me everything I know today. Even take wheatgrass because it prevents gray hair. I do it, and I'm telling you, ladies, it's real. And I learned all that.
Wait, what prevents gray hair?
Thinking, wait, I don't want those grays.
Wheatgrass, a shot of wheatgrass, but you
Yes.
take it consistently. Like, I mean, like the fresh, nasty stuff, not like powder.
Mañana empiezo.
Mañana.
Yeah, I'm 47, and I'm telling you, whenever I see a gray, it's because I have not been consistent with my wheatgrass, and it works. And the two, I won't get into it, but that's what he learned there, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And I have to attest to the fact that it's real.
Espérate, que Trader Joe's cierra a las 10, vengo para atrás.
Yeah, but that's what, you know, where the shift happened, and I started to learn. So it wasn't really for me, it was for him. And where I really learned to adapt this is that then people started seeing me really healthy, and I was at peace when he passed away. I walked out of the hospital, and I remember walking out, looking up in the sky and saying, thank you, God, thank you for all my blessings. And no one could believe I was okay. And I was judged a lot for that. You know, for his funeral, I wore hot pink shoes and a white suit, my children dressed in white. We had a celebration. You know, it was weird to everybody because, you know, you're supposed to throw, as you know, Latinos, you're supposed to throw yourself in the coffin, you know, and prove, right?
El drama.
Yes. And I felt like, you know what, that is the case for certain cases where there's tragedy, where there's a sudden death. But I am so grateful that I had this period of reconciliation, of becoming best friends with my husband, of making peace, of him leaving me instructions, everything from, hey, this is the window guy, to here's the IT guy. So like we covered do you want to be cremated or buried? We had so much peace, and he found God, and he actually found, you know, his faith in that Bible study that he was with James, you know? So it was amazing that he was ready to go. So I felt like my mourning was my whole life. And when he passed away, I felt like it was my responsibility to really like live with purpose, because Marlon actually lived with great purpose. And he tried to teach me, but I wasn't ready. And they say, right, what's that saying? When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Mhm.
And at that point, like my teacher appeared, but my teacher was now physically not here with me anymore.
Wow.
So that just gave me goosebumps.
Right. That gives me chills. You know, you said that you lost yourself in taking care of him, and I can kind of relate to that. But I went through a stage of guilt afterwards, right? When I decided to make the move and start focusing on myself. Did you feel guilt at one point when you realized that it's time for you now? You know, through your healing process, although you were still taking care of him, you realized through that process also that you needed to better yourself. So I felt guilty for that. Yeah, you know what? There's a lot of guilt that comes with it, but mine was opposite. I actually didn't realize that I was taking care of myself because I was doing it for him. So I was modeling for him. So if he had to eat plant-based, I was eating plant-based. If he was going to bed at 8 o'clock, I was giving him all the rules of everything I read. If he was going to yoga, I signed him up for yoga. I went to yoga with him. I went to the chiropractor. So I did not realize at that moment that I was healing myself in trying to save his life. And he was pretty open to everything. He trusted me. And he was just like, whatever you say, I will do, because he realized there was no hope with the doctors anymore. So it's the irony of it is that I didn't realize I was taking care of myself. But to be transparent, it wasn't like I was in this place of bliss, like, oh yeah, like I'm taking care of him. I remember even in doing that, sitting in my car, screaming at the top of my lungs, going, when is this going to be over? And then the tremendous guilt of going, what did you just say? I almost felt like I manifested his death at that point, where I was like, no, like, God, I'm so sorry. But that was me being human. I was so tired of being a caregiver, and I was working full time. I was working 11 hours a day at that point. And it's interesting because I had the best boss in the world. I'm so grateful for her. She literally forced me into leave of absence. She called me in and she said, today is your last day. And I felt like such a failure. And I was like, am I not doing okay? And she was like, I think you should go home.
And you know what's crazy? There's great people in this world. She was someone that most people feared at my company, and nobody wanted to work for her. She had 3 other executive assistants before me, and I was thrown into the position, and I was like, I don't want this job. And it's interesting the way, you know, you just sometimes have to like just follow the waves of life, right? And not resist, because it was something I was put into and I didn't want to do the job. And I was making a certain salary. And I remember she was like, just take the job, because no one else wants it. And I was like, absolutely not. And she was like, listen to me, take the job. I'm going to give you $25,000 extra. And when you have to leave to take care of your husband, it's like she sent something I didn't. Your disability, your family leave is going to now be higher because of this rate. And it was crazy. And just the good people that in hindsight, I can go back and go, wow, those were angels on earth.
I was gonna say, God puts angels in our paths that we don't know they're angels until the time comes. Know.
And I was able, and I'm so grateful for her that she forced me out, and I was able to spend the last 6 months with him, you know, really like healing together and experiencing a joy and a love that I pray that everyone on this earth gets to experience. It was like the greatest love I had experienced up until that point, until my husband now. And Marlon has forgiven me, that I tell him, you know, like, you know, this is like my match made in heaven. We're in sync. Marlon couldn't communicate with me. He didn't have the abilities. I have a husband that can keep up with my speed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a little love story. I really do love it. It's beautiful.
Cheers to that. Salud.
Yes, cheers.
You see, I should have listened to the segment. It's wine, not water.
Water and wisdom works too. It's okay.
It's ginger ale.
That's right.
It's not wine.
Oh.
Not that anybody heard that.
Right. We confessed last episode we really don't do that great drinking wine, and
they become very long.
You never
and
know.
A lot of laughing. Yeah, things get twisted.
Very in-depth conversations. So
I would like to watch that segment if you do it.
We might just share too much sometimes.
Right. Sometimes we share a little too much when we're actually having the wine.
yes, it was actually a great segment. You could watch it on YouTube. It's our holiday season segment.
Good. I will.
I laughed a lot editing it. I was on the
We
floor
laughed so
cracking up.
much.
So much fun. That's the blessing of this show. Like you said, you have angels on earth. I feel like this show has been kind of like a representation of an angel, because we started during COVID, and it's been our therapeutic way.
Amazing.
Dealing with, you know, everything through COVID and what we're going through day to day. Because sometimes we'll get on and we're not even like talking about the segment. We're like, you know what happened today? And then we just end up being each other's guidance counselor.
And when you don't realize, it's the people that watch in silence, because sometimes even James laughs, my husband now, he said, I was standing on the train platform and this woman was staring at me with the biggest smile and going, and he's like, and then he was like, and then it registered. She must know who I am because of you, because of, you know, social media, because the woman had the biggest smile. And the point is that the people that you're blessing may not even let you know that they're watching and that they're being inspired, because sometimes people just do things, you know, quietly. And so I think that's amazing that you ladies are doing this, truly.
Thank you. I think you're sorry.
I'm sorry. Your entrepreneurship and all of that. What is something that, like, let's say, I don't know how many people you've helped, but what's something that is a commonality among them that is like a word to the wise for entrepreneurs? What would you say?
For entrepreneurs, really, I mean, it's just do it, and do it scared. You know, and truly believe in yourself, because I'll just use my own personal example that I used recently. When Marlon passed away, I wanted to create a self-care app. This is 2012. And I went to someone that I felt like I could trust. It was my old boss, who had a hedge fund and had a private equity company as well. And I presented my self-care app, and I said, I want it to be with everything that I taught myself, through trying to save his life. I was like, I want an app that embodies sleep, an alkaline diet, vitamins, validation for relationships. So there's an acronym. Gloria knows the acronym. I don't want to bore you guys, but it's Savvy Me or Savvy Gems. And it's sleep, alkaline vitamins, validation, meditation, and exercise. And I've changed it through the years. And I'm actually working on my next book with that acronym. But the point is that I presented it to him and he was like, nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. Fast forward, as you can see, everything. This is 2013. Everything is self-care. Put it this way. I actually had to stop using the word because it annoys me so much because it's so overused, you know? And you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that sometimes your vision is way ahead of the game. And even if somebody's doing it, they're not doing it like you. No one is in your brain. No one has your experiences. Like you must believe that what you have is unique. We were all put on this earth for a purpose. There's room for all of us. So that as cliche and as simple as it sounds, you have to believe in yourself and you have to move forward, and you can't do it by yourself. So you need a community, right? And that's also important. But just the belief in yourself is everything in being able to execute and to do it, you know, when things get hard. You have to know why you're doing it.
And be patient too. Be patient and put in the work, because people sometimes want instant gratification.
Absolutely.
I came up with this idea, I put it out and it's been 6 months and I haven't done anything with it. It doesn't happen that way. Most businesses, from what I remember, it takes about 5 years for you to see any type of, you know, introduction to success.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
I think for me, I love when you said patience and doing it. To me, I always say patience is a verb. You must be patient, but you must do the work, as you said.
Work.
100%.
Yeah, and if anyone, and I'm going to put it out there, if any of you or any of your viewers want to like work on your business model, that's what I help entrepreneurs do, like literally map out their ideas. I'm happy to do that and share how to do that, because no one taught me. So even though I was out there doing the work, I knew how to make money, but I didn't know how to scale my business. I didn't know how to really, you know, charge properly. It took me a minute to get my feet wet. And I constantly wanted to quit because I didn't know my own value. And I didn't know how to build out my business and build my vision. So I think that's very, very important. That the dream is important, but there's a lot of different elements, but you also have to have a plan. Without the plan, it becomes a nightmare. The dream becomes a nightmare.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
I believe that. Tell us about your podcast. What is your podcast about? How did that come about? Do you discuss, you know, business plans and finances on your podcast?
Oh, no, we don't talk about that. Well, the podcast came about, you know, James was a pastor. I guess if you were a pastor, you're always a pastor. But he was, you know, a pastor. I've done public speaking, and he's helped me put one of my great events that I put together a few years ago. He was like the mastermind behind it. And, you know, we do great things together. We've been creating a lot together. He's been my best friend for a long time. The podcast is really about us blending as a family and the trials and the tribulations that come with relationships. And, we're just like on podcast 3, and we're feeling it out. We're seeing, you know, we both have full-time jobs, but what we love about it is speaking about things that people feel really uncomfortable. And one of the things we covered was infidelity, because unfortunately, and I'm very open about that, where James and I were friends for a long time and we kept having difficulties becoming a couple. His fear and him working at the church, and the church being so close to my home, and me having my own relationship with them. And it became very messy. And unfortunately, at the start of our relationship, there was infidelity. And that broke us off completely, obviously. And it broke my heart because it was something that I was blindsided with. But in hindsight, I truly believe that was the thing that has made our relationship so much stronger, so much more clarity. I mean, to the point that, you know, he left the church and he's doing his other passion of IT. And it has really helped us to really help other people with these situations that, normally, you hear celebrities talk about it, but when you talk about real people, your neighbor talk about it, and knowing that you came through a difficult period, I think that is so important. And that, we're just broken people doing our best. And that, there's something to be said about forgiveness, about resilience, about learning about what really matters in your life. So we get deep into those conversations about why we make the choices that we make and what we can do to do better. So yeah, it's a very hardcore podcast. We've had feedback that people are just like, yeah, it's too hard to listen to.
Wow, love it.
I have to listen. I have to start listening to it. I said that's going to be during the Thanksgiving break. It's something I want to do.
Yeah.
Because finding the time with the kids.
Yeah.
I'm never alone. I'm like, I don't want you to listen to what I'm listening to. But I'm gonna
headphones.
Do you mind?
But it was very liberating to do. It was very liberating because who James was, he was a man who lived in a lot of fear of the church, fear of what people thought. There was so much that, we were great friends for 5 years, best friends. And the fear of being in a relationship scared him so much that he did not make wise choices. I'm talking about like 2 weeks into the relationship, he messed up, and some people would say, oh, but you guys just started dating. Listen, betrayal's betrayal. It's the same thing when someone says to you, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend. I know you lost your husband. It's different. To me, it's not different because loss is loss. It's what's important to you. So I always, I'm very compassionate. Even when people lose their pet, I'm like, oh my God, because, it's all relative to what, hurts your heart.
It's different, right?
Different. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want crazy entertainment and weird stuff, you can go check it out. And we're not even sure where it's going. We're enjoying it. We may take it to YouTube. We're just on Instagram right now. It's the Leon Den. So, or the Leon Den.
That's how we started. We were like, oh, we're just going to do 5 episodes.
We're going to do 5 episodes.
Let's see how it works out.
What episode is this now?
62.
Oh my God.
We're on our 2nd season.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think Jessica had a question for you.
December 12th, we're gonna be at SOBs in the city. We're gonna have lives.
Yes,
we're doing a
live show at SOBs. You have to come.
I gotta come.
You gotta come. The link will be on my page for the tickets.
That's great.
I'll send you a message also.
Yes, please.
How did you find forgiveness? How did you dig deep inside to forgive that and be able to put that behind you and move on and not bring it up again, right? Because we're guilty of that. We'll be like, oh, I forgive you. Then you start back up again. And then you'll be like, oh, but tú hiciste esto. Remember you did this and I forgave you for that. Like, how do you move
who said I don't bring it up?
Okay.
Dije, ¿quién te dijo esa vaina?
Who told you that lie?
Okay.
So the interesting thing, so the interesting thing is that, one of the things that I really appreciate about my husband is that he's also one of my greatest teachers. And when I asked him that same question, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever forgive you. I'm like, you betrayed me as a friend. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, why would you do this to me? You know the hell I've been through already. You know me better than anyone. And, not to get into his brokenness, because we could go on forever about that. But what he taught me was that forgiveness is not a one-time thing. Forgiveness is an everyday thing. So maybe today I'm fine. And then next week, it comes up again. So what I have learned, and this is what we have mastered, and I can't say master, is that I used to perseverate and I wanted details. And the details were very damaging because I needed details. Details. Like a step-by-step manual. That was not good. That was not, yeah, that was
That is
not healthy for me.
toxic.
Yeah, it was very toxic, right? But the rage was there, the anger. Fast forwarding to now, I had a moment last week where I had a question. I was like, I don't think I've asked him this. So I asked him a question, and I asked, and he felt my energy, and he said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm just feeling a certain way. And he said, what is it? And he's always very open. He's one of the greatest communicators, the greatest communicator I've met, like in terms of a man, and even females, I want to say, because he's just incredible. And even the way he communicates with our kids. So I just said, this is my question. I asked him, and he answered it. And we've now have this thing where he knows what I need. So he was able to answer the question. I'm now in a place where I can receive it and I'll perseverate. And the way he follows with it is, I'm not that person anymore. I don't even recognize who that is. I am so sorry I hurt you. And literally that is what we need so we can both move forward. That took us a long time. So this is almost 2 years ago that this happened. And it took us, I want to say, over the last 6 months, we've been really healthy. Fortunately, I want to say, was one of the greatest things that happened to him, making this mistake, because it allowed him to break free. Prior to this, he was afraid of his ex-wife. He was afraid of his children. He was afraid of the church. He constantly wanted to people please and make sure he was okay. The moment this happened, it like broke him open. He realized I was the most important person in his life. Now his ex-wife was like, yep, this is my woman. I'm gonna marry her like in 2 months. And and the kids were like, yep, this is gonna be your stepmom. And they've always known me because we were in church together. Nothing mattered. Left the church, found a new job. All of a sudden, like I became like the focal point that he always wanted, but he was so afraid of everything and everyone around him because he just wanted to be, he didn't know how to separate being a pastor and being a human.
Wow.
And it was
hard. I can imagine.
It's very hard. And you know what's interesting? We've had these conversations. Sometimes we see people in these leadership positions, especially as spiritual leaders, and so many of them struggle because now we can actually see that. And it not just with him, with a lot of leaders that he has even worked with. And we recognize the brokenness, and they have no self-care, and they're just giving. And when you're constantly giving, right, and you're working for a really low salary, and no one checks in on you to see if you're okay, and you're running on empty, and you're a pastor, you're running Vacation Bible School, you're doing life groups, you're doing everything, you're fundraising, all these things, right? And you run on empty, guess what? You're going to make mistakes. And you're also going to thrive off validation. And we talked about this in our last podcast, where he recognized, right, looking back, he was thriving off the attention that women gave him. Because it was like, pastor, women love pastors, right? Especially if they're cute and good looking, right? And it was like, oh, pastor, right? And that pastor thing, right? If you cross that line, and things can get messy. And that unfortunately happened with him. And it's normal things that can happen to everyday people.
Human.
He was a pastor.
Human.
Yeah. And it's a whole other, you guys listen to the podcast, because he got kicked out of church. And you would think, right, if the church, right, followed the very thing that they preach of compassion and being community and supportive, how do you kick out one of your own? Right. And I joked about this on our last podcast. I said the only reason that he was allowed back in the church was because I said, well, then I'm going to have to post it on Facebook that we're looking for a new church. And they're like, no, you can come to church. We just don't want him. He needs. And I said, no, we. And we're going to look for a new church. And they were so afraid of me posting that I was going to look for a new church that they were like, no, come back.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And we're fine. We're in a good space. We've had a lot of healing, a lot of forgiveness in terms of the people who really thrived off seeing him suffer. And he was in a very dark place when this happened. And he was kicked when he was down. And the only reason we stayed together, believe it or not, I didn't stay with him because I wanted to stay with him. I stayed with him because everyone turned his back on him. And he was jobless. COVID hit. He was at his worst point. And I saw everyone really, I don't even want to say, but it felt like they were rejoicing in his suffering. And no matter how much he hurt me, he was my friend. And I was like, I do not want to see him suffer. I don't want to see his kids suffer. And I stood by my friend and I helped him and supported him. And in the process, I fell in love with him in a way that I never imagined, and vice versa. And I think that's why it was a great blessing. You know, it was a beautiful, messy love story. So we started dating, engaged, and married all in 2020.
Wow. Yes. Wow.
So beautiful. If just for our viewers, you are an amazing, amazing woman in so many levels that, you know, we hope that they tune into your podcast, because now we're learning from you from the perspective of a wife and like in a relationship. And at least for me, I've learned from you as a mom, a teacher, and now as a wife, because I also need help there too. You know?
We all do.
We need help just to be better. Because when we know better, we do better.
That's
But
right.
Kenia, thank you so much for coming on our show and blessing us with your presence and your gift also of speech, because you're so eloquent with that.
Oh
as well.
gosh, please. Thank you. I do ramble, but that's okay. I appreciate that you appreciate my ramble.
Hey, listen, we drink the wine and you have to share the wisdom.
That's right.
Wow, eso es.
I get it now.
You see, that's what we're here for. But we are so thankful that you came on our show. We hope you can come back once
I
your
would love
podcast
to.
flourishes and you're gonna, come to our show. We would love to have you there.
Yes.
Live
Yes.
show.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere, because we're gonna ask you to do a promo for this episode, and
Sure.
we will be right back with Gloria's segment, Brillando con Gloria. We'll be right back.
Oh, espérate.
This is what we call the Thanksgiving living room chill look. I made this little outfit nice and simple, yet a touch of sexy, with black pants. You can choose whether you do leggings, jeans, or slacks, and a one-shoulder cut-out leopard top. Yes, you know me, I gotta give it that pop of animal print. And I did little flats that are also leopard print to match with the top. I put my hair up, as I'm the hostess with the most, and I paired it up with gold accessories. Yes, you know, gold is the in trend right now in accessories. I hope you ladies enjoy this look as much as I did.
Hi guys, welcome back. So what did you think of my segment for Thanksgiving?
I thought it was really comfy. You know, we go from the bedroom to the living room. Listen, I loved it because that's how it's supposed to be. La gente se visten ahí con los trajes de brillo para nada.
No, mami, así no fue. Para la sala no vamos con el brillo.
Que si las peperas, las uñas, que si they come here without taki-taki, para sentarse en el sofá.
You know, us Latinas, that's what we do, right? You gotta put up the tacos and the hair and the esto para sentarte en la sala a comer pavo.
I liked it because you showed us what simplicity can do. It still looks good, right?
And comfort and just comfort sexy. I liked it.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
And it was
And
still
the
a little
accessories was
dressy.
not too much. And the accessories was not too much.
No.
Just
And it was
simple.
still
Try
it
to
was
keep
still
it
a little
simple.
dressy. Like if you were gonna go to someone else's house to sit in their side, it was
Right.
perfect too.
No estoy en pijama. No estoy en
Yeah.
pijama.
No, it
En el
was,
pijama y los fluffy socks.
that
Oh,
doesn't sound
damn.
bad. That doesn't sound bad right now.
I can't wear socks.
Why?
I hate socks.
Oh, I love my fluffy
You
socks.
didn't like
in the cold
it
weather.
just to walk around the house?
To walk around the house in the
No,
cold weather.
I
love
walk
them.
around the house barefooted
Really?
En el invierno. Wow.
all year round.
In the summer, yes. In the summer, yes, I'm barefoot,
Yeah.
pero en el invierno no.
Yeah,
Oh,
all
in the
year round.
winter I can because my feet get cold.
It pains me that I have to wear socks in the winter with the boots and stuff because I hate
Oh my
wearing socks.
God, you really
So I
don't
don't
like
even wear
socks.
socks, to be honest. I wear like the pegs, like the
Yeah.
pegs.
Right, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's so
Yeah.
weird.
that's
The
so
things
funny.
we
So
learn
next-
about each other.
for real, right? So
Yeah.
the next for Christmas, you gotta do an outfit with no shoes, just peds, blinged out peds.
¿Está bien?
And we'll all
Watch me
get some
find those on
Christmas.
a fabulous find.
Think a
There
fabulous
you
find.
go. There you go. You
Start
got
doing your
it.
homework.
You got it. So we'll be right back with our final remarks. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, ladies, what did you think about our segment today? Kenya and her words. What did you think?
Oh my
thought
God, she
she
was
was
so
amazing.
great.
Yeah. It was.
She's like such a powerful, I like her presence, right? I feel like she has such a powerful presence.
And when
But-
you're in person with her, you get all that energy, and it's like, whoa, it's just
Wow.
crazy. She's
Wow.
just an
She was
amazing human.
powerful, but at the same time soothing, if that makes any
Yes.
sense.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. I
Yes.
can so
Yeah.
understand.
That is exactly who she is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's very motivational and inspiring.
Yes.
And you can tell that she speaks from her heart and very genuine.
She's
And that
real.
all comes from her experience.
Right.
And she genuinely wants to share that, you know,
Yes.
so to help other people. And you get
She's
that
very
right,
genuine.
right away.
Yes. Yes.
It was an
All I
amazing.
know is that I'm on that wheatgrass mañana.
Out of everything of today's show,
Que vamos
the
todas a
wheatgrass-
comprar el wheatgrass. Vamos
Out of her
todas.
story, her journey, her marriage, the only thing Jessica
wheatgrass.
took away from that
A
was
wheatgrass.
the
Sorry,
wheatgrass.
no.
We're all
Don't
going
say
to
it
get
like
it.
that, Francis.
all going to get it.
I'm
Wait.
kidding. I'm kidding.
We're all gonna get it.
We're all gonna go by wheatgrass, girl.
Oh my
See.
gosh.
I'm kidding.
And remember to dress comfy for Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Para la
Yes, yes.
sala.
Yes.
Great look, great look.
Para ir a la sala y al baño.
Yes.
No se pongan el traje de brillo y los tacos.
No.
No, deja eso.
No, no, no.
Great segment. But guys, thank you so much for watching our show. Tune in next week where we will be discussing our finances. Woo-hoo. Oh,
Woo.
sometimes scary for some,
Yes.
but do you have a plan for your finances for the future? Are you financially stable? Next week, we're gonna have the honor of having my little sister, Alexa Criollo, financial advisor. She's gonna be teaching us the best way to handle our finances. So tune in and check it out.
Wow, this segment is going to be very informative and eye-opening for me, at least. I'm curious, I am curious to see what we can do differently to prepare ourselves for the future financially. What can we do more of, right? So please tune in on Wednesday on YouTube to hear all about it in her journey.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and now you can tune in and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music at Wine and Wisdom 5.
Y mira, no te olvides to take a minute to sip some wine and share a little wisdom.
Cheers.
Bye.
See you next time.